Hello, this is Sylvie Anchor, and you're watching Silver Anchor. I've already done some laying out here today. We're going to do the 12 houses, and I decided that because it's something that I needed to work on. So doing these is a way for me to develop skills. You know, is the best way to learn something is to research it. So I had to research what to do today. So I've got just some layout here. I'm going to use a safety compass. Yeah, I like it better than the traditional compass. I have one around here somewhere, but I ordered, it was easier to buy a whole teacher set of these, so I have a whole bunch of them. Sometimes I take them to go. I've marked the center here. I'm going to use the letter S. This is a test-taking version. So there's no numbers on it, that's going to be fine. But the 12 houses correlate with the 12 zodiac signs, and it's used in making your birth chart. So birth charts are really easy to figure out these days, thanks to computers and the internet. It used to be a very time-consuming. You'd have to get, books and charts and look up everything and draw it, of course. And I am drawing, the chart, so to speak. Here, I'm using some geometry tools. I have a protractor, but I'm not really going to use it. This is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. I'm going to use it to draw the 60 degrees. But first we're going to draw 180 and 90 degrees here. So the 12 houses correspond with the 12 zodiac symbols, and the chart is used to figure out where the planets were when you were born. Everything: the sun, the moon, the horizon, Venus, Mars. And I'm going to also list down here what those aspects mean in the chart. So I love drawing geometry figures. It's relaxing. I'm using the ruler as just a parallel set. That way I know my angles here are working out. If you've ever seen a traditional drafting table, they have a parallel bar with wires so that you know that these lines are always parallel. And I don't have a T-bar, even though my table is kind of curvy, so that probably wouldn't do me any good. So there was the 60 degree, and now we're going to do the 30 degree angles. I'm just going to move up my ruler, and I'm just using the center as my guideline here. But these are traditional drafting tools, having a straight edge, and I have a 45 triangle. I have several of them actually, and the 30, 60, 90. I enjoy drafting, which is just geometry in action, So there I've got 12. I'm going to go ahead and number them. I think I'm going to, this is where I'm conflicted, is I really didn't want to use pen in the tools because I may have to erase them. I am going to erase the center here just for aesthetic reasons. And this, could be used as a template as it is for making more charts. I did do them all by hand when I first learned astrology, and it's just one of those skills that I've kind of forgotten over the years. So right now I'm contemplating inking the whole thing. I don't really want to freestyle it, but I also doubt I'm going to be able to trace those lines. I don't know. For now, I'm just going to write what I wanted to write in here and just use it as a guideline. If I don't like how the pencil looks, I'll probably come back and darken it with the ink, but we'll see. So I am going to use the straight edge. Well, now I'm all conflicted because I did want to mark out here. So I'm probably, oh no, so that's what I didn't mean to do. So the thing is that I'm like, oh, but now I'll make mistakes and they're not erasable at this point. So, but now I'm committed. The first line went down, so it's like, okay, let's just do it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but any mistakes in this are going to look really obvious. But now that the measuring's done, it's just a matter of using the straight edge to put down those lines. And then comes the question of the circle. Am I going to use the compass again or freehand it? I think I want to use the compass. If this doesn't work, you know what? I'll start over and you'll never know. You'll never know that I had to do this again. This is a really fun tool. I got this on Amazon. Just look for Safe T compass because it doesn't have any sharp points. They're really great. Luckily, I remember what letters I used the first time I did this, so it should be just a matter of tracing my work. This is the one downside, is you have to switch positions. Uh-oh, I think we moved a little bit, but this might be just fine. I might be able to come back with some white. I do have 2 white pens, so I might try the paint pen just to clean up. I actually tried using this the other day and it was nothing was coming out. It was just looking like clear. So it should be dry. I also didn't test if this pen was water fast. I don't know if I'm going to add any color. I think this page would look fine in black and white. I might come back and do another layer. This one has to dry in between layers. This is the Uniball Signo. I've been trying to find a good white pen to use over colored pencil, and I've not found one yet. So this is house number 1, and then it goes counterclockwise. And I'm going to orient everything horizontal so that you don't have to turn your head to go around the circle. I'd rather just read it from here. So one thing that confused me for a long time was the rising sign. So it is the position on the horizon at the time of your birth. It's not the same as your sun sign, which is where the sun was at the time of your birth. So the rising sets the tone for the rest of them. I was going to put a circle on all of these for where it is, and like they correspond with Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and so on in the order, like what the characteristics of each house So last week we talked about Leo. Leo is the 5th house, is the 5th sign of the zodiac. However, your rising sign determines the order they'll actually go in. So let's say your rising is Gemini, right? The horizon was in Gemini at the moment of your birth. That's why you need to know what time and where you were born to do an accurate chart. So it's not just enough to know what day. All right, you can tell where the planets were on the day you were born. It's very easy to find out the sun, Saturn, Mars, because they don't move through these very quickly. But the horizon is actually going through these in a 24-hour period. This is the rotation of our planet, Earth. So you could almost think of rising as your Earth, even though traditionally it wasn't considered a planet, but it is the time it takes, the 24 hours. So we're looking at 2 hours in each of the constellations that represent the zodiac. So it was confusing to me because I was born shortly after sunrise. So in my circumstance, my sun sign is the same as my rising. Now, it's not going to be true for everyone. I guess it's true for people who were born near sunrise, because the sun was in Virgo and the horizon was also in Virgo because the sun had just come up. Right? So it's not going to be true for everybody. Sometimes the sun is going to be over here and the opposite, right? That'd be like being born, I guess, at sundown, right? And then through the night, and then the morning and the day. So maybe that'll help make you understand how rising relates to the sun sign. So starting with your rising, which is some people emphasize as the most important sign, right? So let's say it was Gemini, then you would have Leo. But no, you'd have Cancer, and then Leo, and then Virgo, and then Libra, and so on, all the way around. That is the sign in your house. And the other big thing is where the planets fall in each house. So for this one, I'm just going to focus on the characteristics of each house. And I looked at several resources, and I've kind of come to my own naming, or, I'm not going to say it's completely unique because they are all the same, but some people just interpret it differently. So the rising, and then we have the first house is you. It's your self-awareness. So I'm going to write the simple explanation inside, and then some more descriptors out here. So this is your appearance, your physical appearance, what you look like, your outward personality, what you show people. I ran out of room for ality. The second house is money, what everyone's interested in. It could also be your possessions, along with cash. The next one is how you think. I thought that was a nice word because communication is going to be too big to put in here. Your communication style, what you like to talk about, how you learn. And it's also the house for siblings, because this one is, we have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, the twins. Next is family. This is the house that represents your roots, where you come from, home, security. Next is your friends. Now, you don't get to choose your family, but you can pick your friends. This can include romantics, relationships. It's what you do for fun, your creativity. and the house that would contain your children. And now we're going to talk about how these reflect in others. And it might sound, because these signs reflect. So this first one is serving others, serving your community. And one way to serve others is just to work, right? Your job may be a service. Maybe you cut hair. Maybe you work in healthcare. And it's also your self-improvement. If you know about Virgos, this house is Virgo, they're always trying to perfect things and make them better. And now they're reflecting over. So this one was the self, and this one is self-aware, and then I'm going to put aware of others. And we're going to just see the word other repeating as we go around. So this is marriage. The very strong relationships. Here we have like the other relationships that come and go. This is more of the permanent. And it doesn't have to be a romantic. It could be a relationship, like a long partnership in a professional way. And then we have across from money, we have other people's money or money of others. And you wonder, well, how does that relate to me? It could be your business, right? Because you're handling other people's money. It could be sharing. It could be your secrets. I'm going to put, and I'm not saying sharing secrets, but like your company secrets. And it's also not really dying, but regeneration. Things starting and changing. And then across from thinking, we have, I'm going to put think of others. And I'm not saying people, but things really outside your own realm. So we could be talking about higher learning, like college. It could be your spiritual learning. I'm going to put spiritual path. And then traveling international. We could put short travel here and then long travel there. I'm just going to put travel one time. I'm trying to save space. We could go on and on about each house, and I just wanted a few words to really just sum it up. So across from family, we have family of others. I know this one sounds really weird, and it might not be the best word, but I've had people say, you're my work wife or my work family. And if you've had a career, especially when you've worked somewhere a long time, they are your family of others. So this one is your career, your vocation. What do you do, that takes up your time away from family, right? It could be your public image. This could be your popularity. How other people see you. The people at your family, you show one face, and then you have the face outside the house. And then across from friends, we have your other friends. You could think of maybe your classmates. You're not necessarily friends with them, but they're groups that you're in. Your community. You're not friends with everybody in your town, right? It could represent your goals. So it's more on the outside community. And then across from serving others, you got to remember to take care of yourself. So I'm going to put serve self. This could be representative of alone time, right? This is going out, and this is staying in. So it could be your dreams, solitude. If you have a lot of planets here, solitude is important. And also transcendence. I have to keep checking my spelling on my notes. Spelling is not my strong suit. Okay, that's not as pretty as I would imagine, but it's okay. I just wanted to make sure this is separated from my house notes. So in a chart, you wouldn't write all these words. You would just have the original chart that we started with, and then you could label this outside with the signs. So like we said, if you were born in Gemini, right, you would put Gemini, Cancer, Taurus, Virgo, Libra, and so on. You could have been born under Aries, and it's really simple because they all line up, right? You could have been born in Libra, and now they're all opposite, which kind of makes sense for Libras because they have to balance everything. Now you're balancing these opposites. So I thought of that one earlier when I thought of the opposites, and I thought that was a really neat way to look at it. I just saw that from one of the sources, and it really made sense to me because these are the basic ones, and then we have the word other in the other half. I wish it lined up here at one, but it's okay. Speaking of which, let's see if we can further cover up my mistakes. I'm really thinking of converting to digital. I'm just not ready yet. Let's title this thing. I did mark out some rectangles on where I wanted to stage things. So I'm going to put just spacing out in my head where the words go. And as I said last time, I am not going to overstress about having the most beautiful handwriting. What I have found is if I just write slowly, it looks pretty good. Because if I waited until I had perfect art letters, I would never get this done. And I hesitated a long time thinking I would learn calligraphy and make this, this gorgeous book of everything. And it's just, I can't wait for that to happen. Hopefully my handwriting improves. I don't think it's horrible. This is not my favorite handwriting, but this is my regular speed, right? If I slow things down, I can make things look a little neater, but I don't want this to take all afternoon. So I'm going to write here. We did this last time. I'm going to put just 7 planets. And I was almost conflicted the other day. I was like, maybe I should be doing all 10. Because I'm leaving out Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So I guess we don't have to just be sad for Pluto, as I'm leaving out 3 planets. But I'm just following the tradition of what we can see. Like, you can see Saturn. You don't even have to use a telescope. Now, if you do use a telescope, you can see the rings on Saturn. Galileo is credited for the first one to point these up to the sky. Everyone was using telescopes for navigation. Look at things far away. But if you get your chart done online, it will have all 10 planets on your chart. And I'm going to do a more in-depth version of like creating a chart, because there's other things going on that I'm not going to get into in this video. I just wanted to talk about what the 12 houses represent, because I was reading them. It said Leo is the 5th house. Last time I didn't put it on my Leo page because I didn't really know what that meant. So I did some research this week, and now I have a better understanding of the I mean, I knew where 5th was, but I didn't understand how they all work together. So where your sun sign is, and this is the one you probably know, is it depends on what month you were born. The sun goes through all 12 houses in 1 year, corresponding to the 12 months of the year. Unfortunately, they don't fall like January 1st to January 31st. It's more like the 22nd. Last time we talked about Leo, it was July 22nd to about August 22nd, and then so on. So your sun, where the planet falls in that house, is the center of your life. However, the houses are not the same as your zodiac. Oh, I started to say house. I'm just going to have to get white out. I'm just going to have to admit to myself that it's not a tool I currently have, but I'm going to write your, where I wrote some other letters. I just can't even. So it's hard to talk at the same time as writing. So the center of your life, and I heard this in another source, it could be what your father figure. It could be your dad, it could be your stepdad, it could be someone who stepped into that role for you. And if you just grew up with no father figure, this could be something you had to create out of yourself. So if the sun was, say, here, your father would be saying, you need to get a job, right? If your son was in the 4th house, your father could have been a very good protector in the home, right? So this is just like the role of what your father would say. You know, you need to think, you need to make money, you need to know yourself, you need to get married, right? It's not like the only thing your dad said to you, but it was just like the underlying tone. And in conflict or in complement would be the moon would be the mother figure. And this is just in traditional representation that the sun is the masculine and the moon is the feminine, the god and the goddess. So as this is the outward part of your life, this is the inner self. Some people relate the moon with your subconscious. It's also your emotional side, your moods, feelings. Some might also say the mother figure. This would be the message you received from mom. Maybe you're raised by your grandmother. You know, we're looking at that maternal influence in your life. So that's why I worded it this way, is not all of us know our mom and dad. Or, you know, we didn't grow up with one. So it could be something you filled the gap yourself. And then Mercury, of course, is communication. He was the messenger between gods. So this is where Mercury falls in your house. And this is what you like to talk about. Right? Do you like to talk about money? Do you like to talk about relationships? Do you like to talk about your career? You know, that's what you're talking about. Venus, of course, is the goddess of love. Beauty, the arts. And this could be how you approach relationships. I like this because I'm learning, and maybe you are learning too as we go along. So let me know if you would like me to do this in a digital format. I've been thinking about using some different, I don't know. I've been wanting to get a digital drawing pad. Mars is the god of war. So this is where your actions, I'm going to put the word passion here. These are the things you fight for. or fight with. So it's that aggression, your passion. You know, are you passionate about money? Are you willing to fight for money? You know, you're working really hard. Could be if you had Mars in the home area, you might have conflict at home, right? You argumentative with your family or with your friends or in the community, right? So it's, if you had it here, you're willing to fight for your alone time. So it's you fight for or fight with where your conflict might be. And then Jupiter is the largest planet, and it's expansion, growth, widening your horizon. And it's where you're generous with your time, with your attention, with your affection. Is it with your family? Is it with your community? It's also where you're going to find your luck. Because if you're spending extra time in this area, if it's where you're expanding, that's where you're going to be fortunate. So it could end up being in money. It could be in service. It could be in your relationship, right? So that's just where your Jupiter ends up in your houses. And my last one I'm going to talk about is Saturn. And Saturn sometimes gets a negative connotation as to fear, but we're going to use the word responsibility. I always like to put things in a positive light. I learned that is reflected in my chart. So I'm not talking so much about my chart. I do a little bit for example, but one of the resources I found is, you know, it's about yourself, and nobody gets tired of learning about themselves, you know, but I don't know how much you want to know about me, Sylvie. And it's also where you're challenged. And that might be where the fear comes from. It can be a source of conflict in your life, but it's also a place of growth. Maybe that's something you're working on in this lifetime. And if you do focus on this area, the rewards can be outstanding. So where you're challenged, if you can overcome that challenge, you will do great. So if you're challenged with money, but you work hard at it, it's going to really pay off. So that's the challenge part of Saturn, where it ends up. You know, and it could end up being relationships or work or any of these areas. It could challenge you in traveling, right, or going to college. But if you fight for that, it's going to mean so much more to you when you get there and really make an influence on your life. So I'm not going to add any color, and if I do, I'm just going to do it off camera. That's what I ended up doing last time. Painting and talking is difficult. Heck, even inking turned out to be difficult on the geometric figure. I don't regret inking it. I think if it was in pencil, it would have looked too plain. But I'm definitely going to get some white out and fix this here. And, you know, sorry it wasn't so much drawing today. I didn't get to draw a face. I was thinking about doing Venus. We might do her next time. And that'll give me a chance to draw the most beautiful lady, maybe in a seashell, because she did come from the ocean. And I would love to honor Venus right away. So I don't mean for this to turn into a whole astrology series, but it is a logical place to start, because knowing the planets and what they all represent can really be helpful as you work through all of the symbologies that come along. And it doesn't mean that you really think that planet is a floating god. It's more of learning about symbology. And that's the deep thing that comes from learning metaphysics. It's not that, you know, it's physically a goddess floating around the sun. It's just, she is the brightest planet, and that means a lot, you know. So it's those things. that help you understand symbology. And the same thing here. Do I really believe the moment you were born makes you who you are? Maybe. I mean, sometimes I look at these and I'm like, I don't really see that about myself. You know, and some of them, if you were doing cold reading, anyone could see these things about themselves. And you see sometimes an astrologer will backpedal and say, just because you're bad with money, you know, they'll have some excuse for it. So do I believe wholeheartedly in astrology charts? No, but it can be a helpful tool in better understanding yourself and also understanding where maybe you need some growth. And just to give you a brainstorming idea, you know, it was an astrology reading that led me to do these pages, and that's an area of growth for me, is working on that creativity. So it's not an end-all tool, and don't feel like, oh, I have my love and this house, so this is how I have to be. And we'll talk more about drawing charts, but go ahead and find yours. It's really easy if you know what time and where you were born. You might have to ask your mom. This isn't something that's on your birth certificate. I don't think your time of birth is listed, just the day is what, you know, the state follows. It's on your driver's license and everything. But the time of birth and where you were born, yeah, you might have to dig a little bit deeper in finding that out. Not everyone really knows that. You know, it's not something that's traced on official records. It's more of just the people who were there when you were born probably remember what time you were born. It might be on your birth certificate. So check that out. I use, I forget the name of the app. I'll put it in the description or maybe put a link to it. But there's so many websites. If you just Google astrology chart, you'll find a link, and you can find it for free. I mean, you don't have to pay anyone these days because the computers do all the work. You know, it used to be really intensive, and someone who did it for you deserved the money because it took so much time. But now a computer can do it in a matter of seconds. So it's not really that, there's not a competition for that information anymore. So sorry if I've droned on and on. I'm going to end it here. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about the houses. I sure did this week, so this was something that helped me understand the 12 houses a little bit better. So thanks for your attention today. I hope this has been a helpful video for you, and you have a great day.